Hi there, my name is Mark Downey and I am a voice, speech and presence coach. Today what I'd like to talk about is public speaking in the era of virtual communication. A lot of public speakers have reported to me feeling flat in this medium. They miss the energy that you would get from an audience, as we all did. It's actually quite a good description of what is going on, because all of our communication cues have been flattened into two dimensions, with the exception of the voice, which comes out of people's computers, but in quite a poor copy of the original. And then for us as speakers, we are not getting anything really from the audience for the most part, because a lot of them are just talking heads, in the sense that all we see is a head, and therefore we're missing all of those subtle cues that when you could look out into an audience and you would see somebody shift in their seat or gently move their head, or the way that they would change their breathing, and that would give you energy. Most of us were able to surf that two-way interaction to be able to bring ourselves to the fullness of our presence, and thereby we would feel on fire and we would feel a connection with our audience. The room became one. This dilemma reminds me of when I was an actor, and also when I coach actors who are transitioning from live theatre into film and television. And particularly when you have to do, sometimes it's low budget, sometimes high budget, but a scene where it's just you and the camera and your imagination. So imagine for some actors, they have a green screen and they are perhaps having to imagine that they are speaking to thousands of people, but there is nobody there. Actors have to be able to tap into their technique to be able to give a compelling, authentic, real performance where they are fully present, and in doing so that they create this credible message that they're able to bring to the audience in their storytelling. And that is what I would like to do today. I'm going to unpack a few techniques that actors use that perhaps you could use to enhance the impact of your public speaking in virtual communication. The first tip is to prime the body. And what I mean by that is not just pumping yourself up, which is really good. What we want to make sure is that the body is free of unnecessary tensions, so that that does not block your energy or your presence, your ability to breathe, or your ability to think clearly on your feet. I would always advocate standing. I would always advocate the idea being that you need to be able to build a relationship with this camera the same that you would have with an auditorium of 1,000 people. So even though we are locked into this particular space, the body is big and it is open as if we are speaking to a huge room. And in order to do that, we want to make sure that the body is ready. So prime the body, stretch it out, energize it. Tip number 2. Now that we have the body ready, the next thing is to get that breath underneath. The breath is the powerhouse of your presence. When your breath is low in your body, both hemispheres of the brain come online and your frontal lobes fire up. You get smarter, your IQ level goes up. There is another reason. Obviously, the breath fuels the voice, so it makes your voice more powerful. We're not talking about loud, we're just talking about a nicer, bigger, warmer sound wave that is going out. And also because in virtual communication, a lot of people aren't breathing. You have a lot of people in your audience that are sitting down in front of their computers and they ain't breathing. It's actually called screen apnea. So if you breathe, if you are sending your breath to the camera and you are breathing the camera in, it will keep you more present and it will encourage them to breathe as well. Tip number 3, the voice. The voice is the fingerprint of your soul. That expression was coined by Daniel Day-Lewis. The human voice is the only three-dimensional cue that is still left in virtual communication, as I mentioned before. The human voice is a series of muscles. Unlike any muscles before you walk into an athletic event, and believe me, this is an athletic event. The moment you stand up and you speak and you are trying to move and inspire people, there are hundreds of muscle groups involved. With the human voice, we need to warm it up. So you should be humming from the top to the bottom of your voice. You should be doing quite a bit of that before you ever come here. If you like singing, go and sing. You know, it is also good to let the voice play, extend the range of the voice. Don't push it, don't force it. Allow the breath to lift it up. And finally, remember, the voice travels up and out in an arc. A lot of people think that it just goes flat here. The voice travels up and out. So keep that voice energized and ensure that you have good microphones, so that you have a lavalier mic, or that perhaps you have an USB cardioid mic that can capture the fullness of your voice. Don't rely on the little mic that is on your computer or your phone, because it takes away a lot of the impact of your voice. So warm that voice up. Tip number 4, get those speaking muscles ready. When we were kids, we used to love playing with our speech muscles and our voices. We loved tongue twisters. Now that is something that you could start doing to get those muscles engaged. Because when the speaking muscles are engaged and we are meeting every word fully, it doesn't mean that we have to speak very slowly. We can actually speak very quickly and be present with every word we are speaking as we are speaking it. Therefore, we end up saying what we mean as we are thinking it. It helps us to think and speak simultaneously. I would recommend go work with some great texts. There are some amazing poets out there that you could take some of their words that were written for speaking and you could speak them out. You could also go to William Shakespeare or any dramatic texts, particularly the classic ones, and they will raise the game of your ability to speak and think simultaneously and release that energy in you that brings you to the fullness of your speaking presence. Tip number 5, get your imagination going. So you've been working now with perhaps a great text. What I would like you to do is to go through that text and to imagine every word, to know what you are speaking about. We try and open them up so the words release these images in our brain. They release these emotions so that we actually start feeling more. And once we have that imagination going in our speaking, it informs our body language, it changes the pace and the pause, it gives us more prosody in our speaking, or all of this dynamism in our speaking as we become physically, emotionally, philosophically present with the words that we speak. We also need to be able to apply that imagination to the camera. We need to be able to personalize. We need to look at the camera and we need to feel like we are speaking to a friend. So sending the breath to the camera, breathing the camera in, and also maybe even taking a photograph of somebody that you feel really connected to, so that when you are speaking, that you are sure that you're actually speaking to somebody, and that softens your eyes, it opens up the imagination so that you can actually come to a state of presence. And rather than feeling that you were just speaking to an inanimate object, you feel like you were speaking to another human being. So we've talked about the body, the breath, the voice, our speaking muscles, our imagination, and the type of attention we are paying. All of these approaches that I've been talking about are not necessarily techniques. This is completely natural to us. Actors would consider this the fundamental scaffolding that needs to be underneath you if you want to have that presence and charisma that a lot of people would associate with actors. So I hope you're able to take these tools, you're able to use them and ensure the technology that you were using in terms of your camera, your lights, your mic, your background is sufficient to be able to capture this presence. So, as Shakespeare said, the readiness is all, go make thee ready.